Okay, this is still homework 3, the first section, question 19 to question 24. We have a supply and demand graph for Blu-ray disc rental market at rental price of $3. So let's see, where's $3? Here, $3. Okay, at a rental price of $3, there will be what's gonna happen, right? We have a quantity demanded. It can only allow me to do this kind of thing. So I will move it. Quantity demanded. No, this is quantity supplied. Quantity supplied at $3 rental price is 30 units, and then the quantity demanded at $3 is what? 70 units. So what we know, quantity demanded is more than quantity supplied. There's a 40 units shortage, 70 minus 30. Okay, 40 units shortage. A, choice A, equilibrium in the rental market for Blu-ray disc. Not really. Right. B, an increase in demand. Not really. The demand curve. The curve doesn't shift. Right. No shifting. C, an excess supply of 40 Blu-ray disc rentals. D, an excess demand of 40 Blu-ray disc rentals. Excess supply is what? Surplus. Excess demand is what? Shortage. Okay, that's question 19. Okay, let's look at question 20. Now this one, you have panel A is a increase in demand. Panel B seems to be a decrease in demand. Panel C is a decrease in supply. Panel D is an increase in supply. Okay, 1 to 2. Let me, yeah. 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2. All right, that's the kind of 1 is the starting point, 2 is the ending point. So we have 4 different situations: increase or decrease, supply or demand. Now, the picture shows supply and demand might shift in response to specific events, right? Suppose scientists discover that eating asparagus slows the aging process. All right. Then everybody want to stay young, right? Young age is really good, so you eat a lot more asparagus, right? Become popular. It's an increase in demand. Okay. So which picture is increasing demand, which picture is decreasing demand? The story itself is clearly implying increase in demand. All we have to do is just figure out which picture is talking about which story. Right? C and D is supply change, supply decrease in C, and the supply increase in D. All right, from 1 to 2, 1 to 2. Okay, question 21. Still this kind of picture, right? Panel A, 1 to 2, increase in demand. Panel B, 1 to 2, increase in supply. Panel C, 1 to 2, decrease in supply. Panel D, 1 to 2 is decrease in demand. So this set of picture, the figure shows how supply and demand might shift in response to specific events. Suppose a spring frost destroys 1/3 of the nation's artichoke crop. Okay, spring frost destroy crop. Which panel best describes how this will affect the market for mayonnaise? See, the whole thing is not only about artichoke, but also mayonnaise. You can dip artichoke into mayonnaise to eat. All right, so mayonnaise is a complement to artichoke. Now we got to think about this. What's going on? We look at this picture, right? What's going on for artichoke? Artichoke supply really shifted to the what? Shift to the left because the frost. Okay, the frost means the result is lower quantity, lower equilibrium quantity, right? What we have is lower the equilibrium quantity for the artichoke market and higher equilibrium price in the artichoke market. So people basically, in this case, right, have to eat less artichoke. There's not much supply there. They don't get enough. So that's I just use a prime to mark the new supply. Supply decreased. And then people eat less artichoke with how much mayonnaise? Has to be less mayonnaise, right? It has to be less mayonnaise. So that's D prime is the new point or new demand curve for mayonnaise. So goes like this. See the lovely PowerPoint. You have to do it manually. Okay, so it's shift to the left. Okay, so that's what's gonna happen for mayonnaise. And if we put a mayonnaise supply here, that should give us the picture, right? The picture that we've been looking at. Change this one a different color. Okay, it's basically this kind of picture for the mayonnaise. And then we look at here. Which picture is that? Right? Which picture is that? Now we can look at question 22. The market price of airline flights increased recently. Some economists suggest that the price increased because of an increase in the number of business travelers. They believe that the market for flights, what? Business travelers, they are not the airline companies who hire pilots, who rent airplanes to provide you the flights, right? They are not the sellers. Business travelers are the buyers. So what's going on, right? The demand curve, and then we can have a supply curve, right? Give supply curve a different color. Really. So that's my supply curve now, the red one, and then we say if the demand curve increase, right, move to the right, and what we have will be a higher price. Let's see, the higher price, and then higher equilibrium quantity, right? Because an increase in the number of business travelers, basically more users of the airline flights. Okay, now let's look at question 23. The price of microchips used to produce computers falls. That's a input price decline, right? As a result, the equilibrium price of computers. Again, this is about supply and demand. We are talking about, let's say, supply, and the supply curve going to move to the right because a supply increase, right? And then if you think about the demand curve, let's see. Again, let me change its color. That's the demand curve, right? So what do we see? We see the price should do what? Decline. And then the equilibrium quantity should increase. Basically, you sort of move along the demand curve, get to a new equilibrium point. Okay, so either rise or fall, increase or decrease. You have a price, right, decline, and equilibrium quantity doing what? Should be higher, right? That's question 23. Let's look at question 24. Now this is our figure. It's a market for candy. A surplus of good will exist at a price of what? P1, P2, P3. If it is at the equilibrium, right, that is P2, then we have what? We have no surplus or shortage. If we are at P3, the quantity demanded is higher than the quantity supplied. The quantity demanded will be Q4, and then quantity supplied will be Q1 at the price of P3. So that is a shortage. And then at P1, we have quantity supplied at Q5, a very high quantity. Quantity demanded is only Q2, and that is less than Q5. So you will have a what? Surplus. The quantity demanded is much less than Q5, right? So that is easy. And that's question 19 to 24 for homework 3.